Let's go! It's incredible to think that this is probably the best times to be a Batman fan. If everything works out fine, we're gonna have 5 consecutive years of Batman movies in live action. Let's just remember, we had Zack Snyder's Justice League in 2021. In 2022, we had the first Matt Reeves' The Batman. Last year in 2023, we had 2 Batman in The Flash. Here in 2024, we're gonna have the Joker. Plus, we're gonna have probably a Penguin TV show in the Max streaming. And if it all goes right, we're gonna have in 2025 The Batman Part 2. And I'll tell you what, if everything works out even better, we're gonna have Batman the Brave and the Bold in 2026. But I am a little doubtful about that. But anyway, since the real Batman movie is going to be The Batman Part 2, how about talk of theories related to this upcoming movie? Also, I don't think I ever talked about the Batman and this Matt Reeves universe in any video of any of my channels, so I think it's time to get some things out of my chest at the same time. My name is Gus, but you can call me BATGUS, and let's go! As it for now is almost impossible to talk about what I think is gonna happen in the second movie of this supposed trilogy, so I think this video today is gonna be more like a part 1 of 2 parts video, and I will probably post the second part once we know who are the villains of this new movie, because only then we're gonna have a much better idea what's gonna be the plot and what is the new challenge that Batman character is gonna have to face. But since create theories is fun, and I already made a video about Batman the Brave and the Bold, the James Gunn DCU movie, so I think it's fair to talk about this other movie that will take place in the Elseworld chronology of DC Universe. And to do that, I will have to base myself in what the first movie left for us in terms of story arc, and also the recent rumors about the scripts of the second movie. So let's talk a little about the Batman. You're probably curious to know why I said I needed to get some things out of my chest regarding this first movie. And here's the thing. I like The Batman, but I don't love it. I think it's an interesting movie, very well done. Matt Reeves' vision for this universe is very solid, but it's not one that pleases me so much. And every time I think about the things that I don't necessarily like so much about that movie, I can never find a real flaw with it. It's more regarding the choices that the director took. So again, there's no flaws with The Batman. I understand the take, I understand the story, the universe, what Matt Reeves was trying to create. It's just not my cup of tea regarding Batman. And I know that there's something related to my own expectations of what I wanted this movie to be, which is something that we have to be very careful about in terms of audience, but I do accept the movie as it is, like I said. Let's start with the positives. I really liked Robert Pattinson as Batman. I think Matt Reeves' take combined with his performance is very interesting with the whole vengeance theme and also his inner anger. The fact that he's so pissed all the time, it's very cool. And that's something that goes to the Bruce Wayne persona as well. I also like the fact that he's just this kind of person that is completely unable to have a real interaction with people around, always carrying the weight of the world in his shoulders, reliving the destructive day that his parents died. That is something very interesting. We never see the Wayne murders in this movie, thank God, because we have seen it in movies and TV shows so many times, but we feel it. And it's all there in the eyes of Robert Pattinson, the eyes of someone who saw the devil once, and is trying to chase that devil every night ever since his parents died. I also love the Penguin in this movie, because Colin Farrell's performance is just masterful, not just because of the wonderful makeup that makes the actor disappear, but his voice, his gestures, is just too perfect for this new version of the character. I just wish we could have seen a little more about his relation with the gang of Carmine Falcone, because Matt Reeves said in interviews that he's kind of the Fredo character of The Godfather. And if you know The Godfather, you know that Fredo is kind of a wimp. And I guess we see that, but we don't get too much of that sense. And I'm just not angry with this fact because we're gonna have the Penguin TV series that I'm very excited about because I desperately want more development in this character, especially his probable rise to be a crime boss of Gotham City. This could be very interesting in TV series form, and I'm kinda predicting that there's gonna be some awards for Colin Farrell in the future once this series comes out. Well, so far so good, right? I only talked about positive things. Let's talk on what I don't like so much. Again, this is a choice, but I don't really appreciate the super grounded, realistic take on the Batman. I think the Christopher Nolan trilogy found the perfect balance between realism and the craziness of this universe where a guy dresses like a bat and goes out at night to fight crime. So we already had 3 movies about that. To go even further into this ground nature makes me a little iffy. Because once things go so realistic, especially for example, his car is very realistic, his gadgets are very realistic, the Riddler is a serial killer, Catwoman is basically a girl of the night, who is just a badass. All of this is fine because there are choices, but you paint yourself into a corner that you can't really go into the other elements of the Batman universe, like the supernatural stuff. To put a villain like Poison Ivy, or Mr. Freeze, or Clayface, or any other kind of character that messes a little with this area of the Batman lore, it just doesn't fit. And this takes me already to some predictions of the second movie, because I don't really want to see a Joker movie or a Two-Face movie again. I'm really hoping that Matt Reeves is thinking about introduce a villain that is a little unexpected to us. Something that is a little more bold than go to the usual, more famous villains. Again, don't get me wrong, I think he was very bold with his depiction of the Riddler and Catwoman in the first movie, but I don't know, there's something about his portrayal, especially of the Riddler, that I was expecting much more of that character. When Paul Dano was casting the role, I was flipping, I was thrilled. I love the actor, I think he's a great actor, and I saw many movies of him. I know his physical appearance, his way of acting could fit very well into the Riddler. But the Riddler that I was truly hoping to see was kind of this one. This page of the comic book Year Zero kind of sums it up of what I wanted to see of the Riddler. Because I do believe that the Riddler is not the Joker, for example. He is much more of an egomaniac. He is all about himself. All about his own intelligence, the way he can fool anybody with his riddles. And listen, I like the fact that he uses the riddles in the Batman to unravel the secrets, the dirty secrets of Gotham. For example, the scene with the district attorney Coulson, that he has that bomb collar after the funeral and Batman comes to kind of try to get him out of it. That's my favorite scene of the movie, because that is exactly the spirit of what I wanted the Riddler to be. This guy who traps people, especially corrupt people, and through riddles, he forces them to do what he wants, especially reveal dirty secrets. That's real power, and that's what the Riddler likes, to have power over people. If we think about the real villains of today's world, are the egomaniacs. For example, the word influencer, for me, always feels like egomaniac and villain. And I guess he is a kind of influencer because he has the followers in the movie, but the whole poor kid's past, the fact that his motivation is to take revenge in all the people that corrupted the system and took the money of the renewal project that was supposed to create orphanages for the kids and all that stuff, makes it a little less interesting for me because we kind of feel sorry for the guy. And we don't want that. We want to have an egomaniac that we hate, and we need Batman to beat him, especially intellectually, which surely doesn't happen in this movie, and I will talk about this later. Also, Paul Dano's performance was a little disappointing because I think he did a good job, but not a great job. His whole shouting and yelling all the time felt too much like acting and not a real character that I was seeing there. And the whole camera footage with him threatening people and that showing in the news is so much like the Joker in The Dark Knight. I just didn't appreciate that. Okay, let's go to Catwoman. Again, there's not a problem there, it's a choice, but I don't like the Catwoman that is such a good person. What makes her interesting is that there is a duality there. In the comics, in Batman the Animated Series, in Batman Returns even. I know that character has nothing to do with the one in the comics, but it's such a good portrayal of that villain. And Michelle Pfeiffer's performance is just perfect. But that's a completely different take on the Batman universe, and we can talk about this in other video. And here, Zoe Kravitz's Catwoman is just too nice. I know she's a rebel, and she definitely doesn't follow the rules or the laws, but I miss the duality of the character that you cannot really trust. And that's what's attractive to Batman. He cannot help but to feel intrigued by her. So that was in Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman, and it was in Anne Hathaway's Catwoman. But it was just missing here. Is a flaw? Again, no, because Matt Reeves said that this is a choice. According to him, these characters are not what they're supposed to be yet. This is the very beginning of their journeys. So like I said, I accept this interpretation. It's just not my cup of tea yet. And that takes me to the Batman Part 2. Sorry spending so much time going through all these elements, but it was necessary for me to explain my expectations for the next story. And let's go back to Batman. Talking about his detective side, this was something that also felt disappointing for me in the first movie. I know, Matt Reeves said about 100 times in interviews that this Batman is still a flawed character, that he's not a great detective yet, he's just in the beginning of his career, he's too violent and too reckless. But at least in the end, there should be a final confrontation between the Riddler and him, intellectual, like I said, that he could get ahead of the character. The Riddler was always ahead in the game in that movie. He swiped the floor with Batman in all the story, to the point that the Riddler actually verbalizes, "You didn't see what I put right in front of your face? I just gave you too much credit." And I was like, no, I just needed to see Batman getting a little ahead of the game at least once in the end. There is a great episode in the cartoon The Batman. Okay, I know it is a cartoon, but the first episode featuring Riddler in that cartoon has a final confrontation of riddles between Batman and the Riddler that is very simple and effective. And we didn't get even that in here. So for the next movie, we need to see Batman detective skills improve. Now it's time to show that he is evolved, he's matured, he's just analyzing the situations better, and not just analyzing them. The problem is that the Riddler was probably the best villain to portray that side of Batman, so I don't know how they're gonna do this in the next one. But that takes me to the other factor of Batman, that is his maturity. In the first movie, his whole arc was about what his vengeful actions and anger issues caused in society, especially related to the Riddler and his goons. The line, "I am vengeance," that the goon says at the end is a great turning point for Batman, and a lesson that I think it should be developed in the second one, because the main theme of Batman now should be inspiration, to inspire the other people to do good and to be a real hero, not a figure of revenge, purely for revenge. And that was a great theme on Christopher Nolan movies as well. We had in The Dark Knight those copycats that dressed like Batman with rocky bats, and how Bruce was frustrated with the fact that he didn't want to inspire people in that way. And in the third movie, we had the real vision of inspiration in the character of John Blake, a police officer that in the end was revealed to be a Robin, kind of. And I really didn't like that element, although the character was fine. But here in Matt Reeves' franchise, I think he can go a lot deeper into this issue, especially if we have a real Robin in this one. There are rumors that there might be a Dick Grayson version of Robin in this movie, even though we're gonna have a Robin in Batman the Brave and the Bold, but that is a completely different story because it will be Damian Wayne. I'm not sure there is actually going to be a Robin in this franchise of Robert Pattinson, but if there is, I think it's a great idea to introduce him in this movie because he can represent the ideal version of Batman, inspiring another person to do actual good and not just vengeance. In all the versions of Dick Grayson, there's always this factor that he wants revenge against the ones who killed his parents in the circus. But Batman is always there, being the mentor figure who can put him in the right path, in a path that is less dark. Because he already went through all of that. And having a Batman like Robert Pattinson in the first movie that, like I said, carried the weight of the world in his shoulders, you could see the trauma in his eyes, this could be a great evolution for the character, being the one who learned the lesson and now is trying to pass it to another figure. And we don't even need Dick Grayson to become the actual Robin in this movie. You could have a whole movie where Dick Grayson helps Bruce Wayne, Batman, but doesn't become Robin until the very end, or in the third movie, I think. Because then you can calmly develop these elements until this great introduction of a new Robin. Anyway, let's talk about the villains of this movie, because I think this is something you are waiting for until this moment of the video. Who could be the perfect foe for Batman in the second movie? I'm not gonna say the ones I would like, because they're probably not going to be, but let's base ourselves in the rumors that we had recently, like I said. There's a big rumor that Hush could be the villain of the second one. I'm not that familiar with this character. I didn't read the comics of Hush, but there's a big chance to be him because the director Matt Reeves was a student of the original creator of Hush in the university, a student of screenwriting, Jeff Loeb. And I think this is very possible because in the first movie we had a little hint of the Hush in Riddler's video. The actual name Hush showed up on the screen, and there was this backstory of Thomas Elliot, who is Rush in the comics, linking to the Wayne family. And in the comics, there's also the relation between Thomas Elliot with the Wayne family. So I think his plot could fit perfectly in the whole logic of Matt Reeves' universe. Plus, his visual also could fit perfectly in Matt Reeves' universe. In terms of look, he's very grounded. But there is the fear that he might look too much like the Riddler that was shown in the first movie. But anyway, in terms of aesthetics, he could be a perfect fit and be very dark as a character in this movie. I also know a little more about his plot in the Arkham games, where he makes a surgery to look like Bruce Wayne, and it works perfectly, almost like the movie Face Off with Nicolas Cage. And even though I like this out-of-the-box idea, with Robert Pattinson maybe playing two roles, the evil Bruce Wayne and the good Bruce Wayne, it would be very silly in the grounded world that Matt Reeves set. You see, this is a problem that I mentioned in the beginning of the video. When you have such a grounded world, with Batman having this out-of-reality ideas, you paint yourself to a corner. There's not much you can use in there. Like I said, that was a big problem for me in this first movie. For doubling down in the realism since the Nolan trilogy, it's even difficult to believe a guy would go out dressed as a bat at night. Like I said, his car, although awesome, is very grounded. His gadgets are very grounded. It gets to a point that you go, why this guy dresses like a bat? He could just wear a protective armor and go out like a SWAT guy at night, and it would be the same. That's why I think Nolan nailed the whole realism with out-of-the-box ideas, creating this idea that the Batman is a symbol to be different from the usual police force. Also using something so pure as Bruce Wayne's childhood fear to create this symbol. And that takes me to the other point, because one of the rumors says that Clayface could be one of the villains in this movie. And now I ask myself, how you gonna make Clayface without taking two steps too far out of the realism border? Because to be honest, that's my favorite rumor regarding all the rumors of this movie. If Clayface is confirmed to be the villain of this one, I will be flipping and thrilled. But again, how you gonna do it? Many people talk about using the first version of the character that showed up in the comics, that was just a guy wearing a clay mask, and he was an actor, and he also was a serial killer that was murdering people around the movie production. And knowing the Clayface that I know today, especially coming from the Batman the Animated Series, I just go, come on, please don't do that. It has to have a supernatural element to it. You must use Clayface as this figure that can cause intrigues by transforming himself into other people. I don't know, probably Matt Reeves will be thinking of something if he actually goes with Clayface, which it goes back to my idea of being bold with the choice of the villain. But please, just don't make something so grounded. There are other rumors about villains, but they are even less certain, like Mr. Freeze, for example. I really don't think Mr. Freeze will be a villain in this one. If he is, great, let's go. But I don't think so. And the other guys, we just don't have enough information for that. I would love to see maybe the Scarecrow, he could work in this world. Two-Face could work in this world, but I'm not so excited about the idea. Anyway, it's just too soon to make those predictions because, like I said, we don't have enough information yet, and I will continue this video once we have the final confirmation of who will be the main villain in this new movie. Well, I think that's all I could cover for now regarding all my questions about what will this movie be. But tell me your ideas in the comments below, and tell me if you agree about my opinion about the Batman. Again, let me be very clear with you. I like the Batman. I just don't love it, especially because of these elements that I mentioned. So if we're gonna discuss it, let's do it respectfully. For you to have an idea, my perfect version of the Batman is probably Batman the Animated Series. I am doing a commentary about all the episodes because I can't get enough of the show. Still to this day, more than 30 years later, especially because it had a perfect mix of the grounded side of Batman with the whole criminal aspect. You can take episodes like Appointment in the Crime Alley. That is an episode that I will still comment, and it's an episode that has a very interesting social discussion and is also very sad, talking about the powers in criminality that sometimes even Batman cannot beat. But you also had episodes that went all the way down to fantasy zone, like Deep Freeze, for example, that had a big futuristic city floating in the ocean, covered by a dome, with a new society of people inside that was supposed to live out of the realms of rotting cities like Gotham City. And I know, you gotta say, it's a cartoon, Gus, of course they can do that. But I disagree. I think you can do that in movie as well. You just have to be bold enough and not fear look crazy and out of the box. And I know what you're gonna say, being crazy and out of the box like Batman or Robin? No thanks. And I'll tell you, I like that movie. And with this mic drop, I thank you for watching this video until now. Please comment below your opinions, and if you are liking this content, also please consider to subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to check my playlist with Batman the Animated Series episode commentaries. Right now we are in the episode 4, but we still have hundreds of episodes to go, and that's why life is beautiful. Thank you so much for your company, see you in the next Bat video, and bye bye.